Good morning, my friends. It is Tuesday, May 12th, 2026 at 7:10 a.m. My name is Melissa from Melissa's Struggling Walk with Jesus. I'm here sharing the Word of God with you using the Amplified Holy Bible and the Navigator's Bible Reading Plan. I am going to be working out of month 9 in the New Testament in the book of Matthew, and I'm going to be reading chapter 23. The title starts out with Pharisaism Exposed, and it says, Then Jesus spoke to the crowds and to his disciples, saying, The scribes and Pharisees have seated themselves in Moses' chair of authority as teachers of the law. Verse 3. So practice and observe everything they tell you, but do not do as they do. For they preach things, but do not practice them. 4. The scribes and Pharisees tie up heavy loads that are hard to bear, and place them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not lift a finger to make them lighter. 5. They do all their deeds to be seen by men, for they make their phylacteries, the tefillin, wide to make them more conspicuous, and make their tassels long. Check out Exodus chapter 13, verse 9, Numbers chapter 15, verse 38, and Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 8. Verse 6. They love the place of distinction and honor at feasts and the best seats in the synagogues. Those on the platform near the scrolls of the law facing the congregation. 7. And to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces and public forums, and to have people call them Rabbi. 8. But do not be called Rabbi, which means teacher, for one is your teacher, and you are all equally brothers. 9. Do not call anyone on earth who guides you spiritually your father, for one is your Father, he who is in heaven. 10. Do not let yourselves be called leaders or teachers, for one is your leader and teacher, the Christ. 11. But the greatest among you will be your servant. 12. Whoever exalts himself shall be humbled, and whoever humbles himself shall be raised to honor. The title turns into 8 woes in verse 13. But woe, judgment is coming to you, self-righteous scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you shut off the kingdom of heaven in front of people, for you do not enter yourselves, nor do you allow those who are in the process of entering to do so. Check out Luke chapter 11, verse 52. Verse 14. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you swallow up widows' houses, and to cover it up you make long prayers. Therefore you receive the greater condemnation. 15. Woe to you, self-righteous scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you travel over sea and land to make a single proselyte, and convert to Judaism. And when he becomes a convert, you make him twice as much a son of hell as you are. 16. Woe to you, blind guides, who say, whoever swears an oath by the sanctuary of the temple, that is nothing non-binding, but whoever swears an oath by the gold of the temple is obligated, as a debtor, to fulfill his vow and keep his promise. 17. You fools and blind men, which is more important, the gold or the sanctuary of the temple that sanctified the gold? Check out Exodus chapter 30, verse 29. 18. And you scribes and Pharisees say, whoever swears an oath by the altar, that is nothing non-binding, but whoever swears an oath by the offering on it, he is obligated as a debtor to fulfill his vow and keep his promise. 19. You spiritually blind men, which is more important, the offering or the altar that sanctifies the offering? 20. Therefore, whoever swears an oath by the altar swears both by it and by everything offered on it. 21. And whoever swears an oath by the sanctuary of the temple swears by it and by him who dwells within it. Check out 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 13, and Psalms chapter 26, verse 8. 22. And whoever swears an oath by heaven swears both by the throne of God and by him who sits upon it. 23. Woe to you self-righteous scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you give a tithe of your mint and dill and cumin, focusing on minor matters, and have neglected the weightier, the more important moral and spiritual provisions of the law, justice and mercy and faithfulness. But these are the primary things you ought to have done without neglecting the others. 24. You spiritually blind guides who strain out a gnat, consuming yourselves with minuscule matters, and swallow a camel, ignoring and violating God's precepts. Check out Leviticus chapter 11, verse 24. Leviticus chapter 27, verse 30, and Micah chapter 6, verse 8. 25. Woe to you self-righteous scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you clean the outside of the cup and of the plate, but inside they are full of extortion and robbery and self-indulgence, unrestrained greed. 26. You spiritually blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup and of the plate. Examine and change your inner self to conform to God's precepts, so that the outside, your public life and deeds, may be clean also. 27. Woe to you self-righteous scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but inside are full of dead men's bones and everything unclean. 28. So you, also, outwardly seem to be just and upright to men, but inwardly you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Check out Psalms chapter 5, verse 9. 29. Woe to you self-righteous scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you build tombs for the prophets and decorate and adorn the monuments of the righteous. 30. And you say, if we had been living in the days of our fathers, we would not have joined them in shedding the blood of the prophets. 31. So you testify against yourselves that you are the descendants of those who murdered the prophets. 32. Fill up, then, the allotted measures of the guilt of your father's sins. 33. You serpents, you spawn of vipers, how can you escape the penalty of hell? 34. Therefore take notice, I am sending you prophets and wise men, interpreters, teachers, and scribes, men educated in the Mosaic law and the writings of the prophets. Some of them you will kill and even crucify, and some you will flog in your synagogues, and pursue and persecute from city to city. 35. So that on you will come the guilt of all the blood of the righteous shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah the priest, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Check out Genesis chapter 4, verse 8, 2 Chronicles chapter 24, verse 21, and Luke chapter 11, verse 51. 36. I assure you and most solemnly say to you, the judgment for all these things, these vile and murderous deeds will come on this generation. Check out 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verses 15 and 16. Now the title turns into lament over Jerusalem in verse 37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who murders the prophets and stones to death those messengers who are sent to her by God. How often I wanted to gather your children together around me, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were unwilling. Check out Luke chapter 13, verses 34 and 35. Verse 38. Listen carefully. Your house is being left to you desolate, completely abandoned by God and destitute of his protection. Check out 1 Kings chapter 9, verses 6 and 7, and Jeremiah chapter 22, verse 5. Verse 39. For I say to you, you will not see me again, minister unto you publicly, until you say, Blessed, to be celebrated with praise, is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Check out Psalms chapter 118, verse 26.